What are the skills that are really the most relevant to learn and improve, you think, to be an effective product manager and really to grow in your career as a product manager? I mean, it starts by getting a couple of engineers and working with them to help ship something good. But I think, what are the skills that you really want to layer onto that over your career?
I'll just, I think that there's a lot of obvious ones, and I talked about a few of them, around, focus on the customer, design-based thinking. I think that the technical understanding can help you know what's possible and what's not possible, and I think there's a lot of elements of strategy and business that come into it. But the two things actually I love about the product role that I think you never get perfect at, and you're always working on, is one, this appreciation for what it means to lead. The great thing about product roles is you have a lot of responsibility and not a lot of authority. There's always that moment, by the way, like when engineers figure out, like, wait, I don't report to you. Like it always happens. It's always like, they figure it out every time. It's like wait, why am I, what? I don't, you learn, and that's important. I think even going up to a CEO level, it's incredibly important, because the truth is, if you have to invoke power, that's actually a weakness. That's not a strength. Leadership is strongest through vision, through inspiration, through analysis, through all these skills that you have to build to be successful at product. So I actually think that product can teach you a lot about being a leader and teach you a lot about yourself, about where you're successful being a leader, how other people are successful, even with different backgrounds. I actually think the one liability I had going into product was when you're an engineer going into product, an engineer says to you, oh, that's really hard to do. Your first instinct is like, not for me. Maybe you suck, but like I can do that in an afternoon. Yeah, I had to get over that really fast. That is not a productive outcome. It does not lead it anywhere. Software is a team sport, and I think that product teaches you a lot about being a leader in a team sport. The second thing, though, I love about product is it's about this holistic thing. Like product, in the end, I blog about this sometimes, but in the end, product ends up with this responsibility for the outcome, right? You just don't. Well, at good cultures, I think you don't just get an E for effort. It's not just, oh, we did all the right things, too bad it didn't work, right? Like, I'm not saying don't experiment. You always experiment and learn, etc. But the truth is, great product managers, great product leaders win games, right? Like they are known for products they ship. That holistic problem of how do all these pieces come together and actually succeed in the market ends up resting on the shoulders of product managers. And one of the distinctions I found from mediocre or average product managers, which I'm not a fan of, and exceptional ones, is they embrace that holistic problem. And that's why they test, that's why they learn, hypothesis test. All these things are ways of ensuring that in the short term, I don't care whether this experiment comes out or not, but how do I consistently end up in a place where I'm winning games? Because you're not winning for you, the whole team. Teams that start winning games together, they get a real desire for it. You win together, you win the next game together, you play better, you start playing for each other. And so that embrace of the holistic problem, that sometimes very small details matter, sometimes they don't at all, and it's the wrong thing. There's a yin and a yang to everything. But that second aspect of the whole problem, I like that in product management. I think that it's something you never fully learn, you're always getting better at it.
Yeah, I'd say following up on a lot of that is a great product manager has to have like fantastic interpersonal skills, because you're dealing with engineers, right? And there's personalities all over the board of these brilliant people who you're asking to do a lot, and you're asking them to work super hard, and you have to be able to inspire them, because at a big company or at a small company, big companies, they can pick their projects effectively. At Google, trying to get more engineers on Google Voice, you had to go sell them. You had to convince them to come work on it. And once they were there, you had to convince them that this feature set was the right feature set to be working on. And it's great, because if you can't convince them, you're not going to convince others, and maybe you're not going to convince the market. So it's actually a very good kind of test. It's almost like at a startup trying to convince people to leave their good, high-paying jobs and come join you. You better be convincing. You better have a vision of a great product. So I think being able to inspire and being able to get them to do stuff, and to work hard and to do, 18-hour days and 7 days a week and push for a launch and make sure that it works. That's really, really hard to teach, and it's a little innate. Like it really is. I don't know if it's necessarily learned, but it's something that you got to have. And so that's one. And on the other side, I think the holistic thing, to me, a product manager is like the mini CEO, right? Like you better be worried about everything from the FAQ pages to the customer support to PR to marketing to positioning to price to competitive analysis to what it's going to look like to design to usability to testing. Like you're effectively responsible for the entire thing, and you can't punt. And you gotta, like when you're asking this team of engineers to work, ridiculously hard, you better be working ridiculously hard too, or they will notice. And I've seen PMs at big companies that I won't mention that can set out a long vision and then they take off for a week during crunch period or something. And it's just you got to be in it and be part of the team. And that's the only way you'll get the respect from the guys to do it. But beyond just this one product, you are responsible for it winning. You're responsible for people loving it and for the press writing about it and for partners wanting to partner about it. And that is you got to be able to do it all.
And I always like to add, the even harder part is you kind of are the mini CEO with all the responsibility on your shoulders without even the authority. Like you can't necessarily like say, okay, like this must get done or we must do it this way. It's still this massive power of influence. Johanna, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I like the answers. I think it was pretty interesting because you said, what are the skills? And what skills that you're going to develop? Some of it being a PM, you're just thrown in. It's not really skills so much as, I don't know if it's capability or instinct. There's basically three things that I think about with product management. The first is really knowing your product and your users. So really putting yourself in the shoes of your users and just using your product all the time, understanding the situations people are when they use it. The best product managers don't just write specs, they use the products, they test the products, they get a real feel for them. The second thing I think about is tenacity. So just not dropping balls. People don't know what you do what you want to do. You have to motivate them, but you got to pick things up and follow through and make sure other people follow through. And when people don't like your ideas and don't want to listen to you because you don't have any authority, you got to keep going and keep on with those ideas. So a second important theme for me is tenacity. And the third one is around collaboration and partnership. So at Google, and everything I worked on before Google, my tech leads were always the most important person, and really having a strong vibe with them and us being in the same wavelength and knowing how we're going to work together and how we're going to get things done is really important.